Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Bayishim, Rakah Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bayishim, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Raya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on RT.com titled Support for NATO Wanes in France, Germany, and even US as Alliance Struggles to Maintain Unity. And this is Daniel chapter 2 coming to pass. As a lot of brothers have been going into over these past couple of weeks, dealing with the Brexit. This is Daniel 2, I'm going to start at 38. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee rule over them all. Thou art his head of gold. And this was Daniel breaking down Nebuchadnezzar's dream to him. And this was dealing with that statue, the different rulerships of the heathens that would happen. And the head of gold was the Babylonian Empire. Verse 39, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, the kingdom of silver, which was the Persian Empire, and another kingdom, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth, speaking of the Greeks, who were Edomites. Verse 40, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, also Edomites, the Roman Empire, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And now we're coming into the final kingdom of the heathens, which we're living in right now, also the Edomites. Verse 41, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. And this is the NATO EU alliance, which the US is a part of, the reincarnated Roman Empire. And we can clearly see that this kingdom is divided right now. As I just said, you had the Brexit going on where Great Britain left the EU, and now you've got talks of a Frexit where France wants to leave the EU, and then you've got all these different nations in NATO having a waning support for it, seeing that the alliance is no longer beneficial. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And that strength of iron is Esau Edom's military might, because right now these Edomites have the most powerful military on the planet, which goes back to his blessing, the sword, which he used to gain the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And that partly strong is your nations like the US, France, and Germany, and Britain, who had stronger economies and stronger militaries. And the partly broken are talking about these other European Edomite nations that have weaker militaries and weaker economies, such as the Pigs nations, which stands for Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain. And these different Edomites are getting sick of it. They're sick of pulling the economic weight of these weaker nations as well as pulling the military weight. Donald Trump has been complaining to these other NATO nations for the longest time because the U.S. is paying the majority of the cost for it. And then these other European nations in NATO are sick of it because they see that the U.S. uses NATO as a means to drag them into foreign conflicts in the Middle East. And then what the U.S. eventually wants to do is go to war with Russia. And these European nations don't want that because they have a lot of business dealings with Russia. And they know that a war with Russia or even a war with Iran would be cataclysmic. And that's all going to happen. And it is going to be cataclysmic. This third woe, this upcoming nuclear world war, that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat in that Middle Eastern region, which is going to happen after the mark of the beast is mandatorily implemented, which is the RFID/NFC microchip implant. And shortly thereafter, when that battle's going on, Yahushua HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is going to return in that massive fathership chariot, or so-called UFO, to save the elect of his people and put the final nail in the coffin of the rulership of you heathens, chiefly Esau Edom. But back to the topic at hand, as you're clearly seeing, this kingdom is divided and partly strong and partly weak. And this also goes into the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28 falling upon the heathens, as it says in Deuteronomy 30 verse 7, and all these curses will I put upon thine enemies that hate thee, and the chief enemy that hates the children of Israel are the Edomites, or you so-called white people. And as Yahushua said, well, one of the curses of Deuteronomy 28 that's being put on these heathens, chiefly these Edomites, is the curse of having an evil eye towards your brother, where you look at your brother as an enemy. And as Yahushua said in Mark chapter 3, verse 24 to 25, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom of part iron and part clay, that reincarnated Roman Empire, that NATO EU alliance, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, the house of Esau, Edom, that house cannot stand. So with these different European Edomite nations breaking up and looking with an evil eye towards each other, their kingdom or their house won't stand. And it's all going to culminate in these other European nations turning against America and allying themselves with Russia and shooting their nuclear missiles onto it. This is Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns, which is speaking of the EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, NATO, these shall hate the whore, the United States of America, which is also known biblically as Babylon the Great, as well as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire from those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. And again, they're going to ally themselves with Russia to turn against the U.S. This is Jeremiah 50, verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the North Country. And that North Country is speaking of Russia. And besides being known as the North Country in the scriptures, Russia is also known as Gog in Ezekiel chapter 38, as well as the Medes in Isaiah chapter 13. And that assembly of great nations is not only Russia's allies, such as China, Iran, and North Korea, but also the allies of the U.S., which again are going to turn against her. Your France's, your Germany, and Britain, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Japan, Pakistan, you name it. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, and her flesh shall be burned with fire. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And those arrows are referring to those nuclear-tipped ICBMs. Because as I always say, what you got to remember is that when the men of the Lord saw these visions thousands of years ago, they didn't know what a nuclear-tipped ICBM was. So they had to describe it the best way they could with what they knew during their times. Weapons of war like bows and arrows, spears, javelins, flying swords, you name it. Let's get back to that article. Support for NATO wanes in France, Germany, and even U.S. as alliance struggles to maintain unity. The kingdom shall be divided. Public support for NATO has seen a notable decline in France, Germany, and the U.S. According to a new poll, the alliance has suffered from months of budgetary infighting and mudslinging among member states. While the Pew Research study noted that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization still enjoys general support across member states, it pointed out that several countries have soured on the alliance. Positive views of the transatlantic alliance fell to 52% in the United States last year from 64% in 2018, the survey found. In France, support fell to 49% from 60% in 2017 and 71% in 2009. A figure for 2018 was not available. Germany also saw a drop in public support, which stood at 57% in 2019, down from 63% in 2018. Positive ratings of NATO among members range from a high of 82% in Poland to 21% in Turkey. The decline in public support can be attributed to a number of factors, including months of heated debate over defense spending among member states. U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly chastised alliance members for not meeting their military spending commitment of 2% of GDP, while arguing that the United States pays for too much for Europe's defenses. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. That main partly strong part being the United States military, complaining to the partly weak part, these other European nations, that they're not covering their share of the costs of NATO's budget. European states have also been highly critical of the Cold War era defensive alliance. Last year, French President Emmanuel Macron accused NATO of suffering from brain death because its perceived failure to help maintain global security and resolve world conflicts. The alliance has also struggled to maintain a united front, most notably in Syria, where Turkey has been at odds with its American allies. Ankara has also locked horns with Athens over the tense military and political situation in Libya. Founded in 1949 to counter the Soviet Union, NATO has been criticized for being largely obsolete and lacking a clear purpose. Despite billing itself as a defensive alliance, it has participated in a number of disastrous military interventions in the Middle East and North Africa, all at the behest of the United States of America, which these other NATO nations are getting sick of, getting dragged into these American military adventures all across the planet, where America's the one that receives the most benefit from it, while these other nations have to take the blowback from those American actions. So from this point on, expect these Europeans to start looking at each other more and more with that evil eye, and then to eventually turn against the United States and eat her flesh and burn her with that nuclear fire. So this is just a quick video for you, Akim, and I hope you were edified. And as always, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'Ishim Yahushai Ba'Ishim Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to you, sincere Akim, out there pushing this word to the four corners of the globe. Ababa Ball, Kwam Yasharala. Till next time, Shalom.